Hi everyone, my name is Arthur and welcome to our channel. Last video we talked about the City Planners by Margaret Atwood, and this one we will be discussing The Planners by Boey Kim Cheng. So it follows a bit the same route, but it's still a different poem, obviously. So first of all, like we did last time, we're going to read the poem together, all right? So you can pause and you can take a look at your poem, you can take your poem, and then as I'm reading, you can follow me through the reading, okay? So The Planners by Boey Kim Cheng. They plan, they build. All spaces are gridded, filled with permutations of possibilities. The buildings are in alignment with the roads which meet at desired points linked by bridges all hang in the grace of mathematics. They build and will not stop. Even the sea draws back and the skies surrender. They erase the flaws, the blemishes of the past, knock off useless blocks with dental dexterity. All gaps are plugged with gleaming gold. The country wears perfect rows of shining teeth. Anesthesia, amnesia, hypnosis. They have the means. They have it all, so it will not hurt. So history is new again. The piling will not stop. The drilling goes right through the fossils of last century. But my heart would not bleed poetry, not a single drop to sing the blueprint of our pasts tomorrow. Beautiful poem. Like I said before, it follows a little bit. You can make a intertextual link with The Planners and the City Planners. They do have similar titles, but it's, like I said, not the same poem. So a couple of interesting facts about the author is that Boey Kim Cheng was born in Singapore in 1965. He is often referred as one of the most promising Singapore poets. Okay, he has a Bachelor of Arts and Masters of Art degrees in English literature from the National University of Singapore. He received the National Arts Council Young Artist Award in 1996. And one of his biggest literary influences was John Keats. When back at home in Singapore, he was very disappointed with the state of literature, of culture, of politics in his home country. And then he left Singapore to go to Sydney in Australia with his wife in 1997. And then he became an Australian citizen. So a summary of the poem. The poem talks about a country's intense development, how it grows until every single part of the country is covered with buildings and man-made designs, how every possible exhibition created is lined up. The urban planners, they keep covering the city with perfect and precise roads, bridges, constructions. They keep on removing the flaws and the history of the country by replacing them with ideal and newer places. They remove anything that is not perfect. The speaker then mentions that all this progress may look shiny and perfect, but it doesn't have any real soul of art, and it doesn't express any true emotions or feelings. Okay, and while I was talking to you about this summary, I thought about, as you know, I'm from Brazil. I currently live in São Paulo, and quite some time ago, there was a huge house in one of the main avenues of the city, and they demolished it to build a shopping mall on its place. Beautiful shopping mall, don't get me wrong, but there was history there. It was one of the main properties, a huge property of a family that owned coffee farms, coffee plantations. So it was quite historical for the city and for the country, and still didn't stop anyone from demolishing and building a mall. So just let's work a little bit on vocabulary first. He goes, when you read the poem, you will see that he has a tendency of going towards two main blocks. All right, one is more mathematical and the other one is more of dentistry. So let's talk about that. So first of all, gridded, right? Gridded is when you have a division of in a pattern of equal, parallel, and crisscross roads. Permutations is a mathematical way of doing math. And it's just a way that something can be arranged. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not a mathematical person, but if I'm not mistaken, it's how many possibilities of grouping numbers you can make inside a certain amount of numbers. Those are permutations. Alignment, being arranged neatly next to each other. Desired points, so the places where it makes more the place where it makes most sense for the buildings and the roads to join. Blemishes means imperfections, flaws. And then we go to the other semantic field, which is more talking about dentistry. So he says dental dexterity. So that's the skill or the ability of a dentist. Plugged means filled. Again, you're right. You if you have something on your teeth, you have to plug. You have to fill it. Amnesia, memory loss. Before that, gleaming. So it's shining, right? Something that is gleaming, it's shining, it's glimmering. Anesthesia, the process of medically numbing your body or the part of your body so you don't feel pain before surgery. Hypnosis, being transfixed or spellbound. Means, when you don't have the means, you don't have the money, or you do have the money if you have the means. The resource is the capacity, the ability. Okay. Piling means stacking or accumulating. Piling. Piling means stacking or accumulating. And blueprint is a technical plan or drawing for building a project. So the blueprint of the building, so the architectural design, let's say that. So a strong theme in this poem is the cost of modernity. Okay, so the planners presents a non-welcoming view of modernization, which is something that is that we can draw a parallel with the city planners. The planners, they build up an unnamed country. He doesn't say which country is it, but it's very likely that it's inspired by Boey's native Singapore. Okay, with mathematical precision, eliminating all marks of human imperfection in the process. Something interesting also is that you have, if you paid attention, you saw me mentioning Boey instead of Cheng, which is in the line, it's the last name. However, because he is from Singapore, the last name comes before. Okay, so that's why I'm calling him Boey. I would not do that to Margaret Atwood. I would call her Atwood because it's her last name. However, since we're talking about someone that is from Singapore, the last name, right, that we from the Western world call it, his surname is reallocated to the front. So it's the first one. Anyways, so they build in an unnamed country that we can deduce that it's Singapore with mathematical precision, eliminating all marks of human imperfection in this process. Through these designs that are technically perfect, the speaker believes that these planners have effectively erased the country's past, and with it, the inhabitants' sense of who they are. So like I said, making a parallel with my own reality over here, it's not that the new building is ugly, quite the contrary, quite the opposite, but is the perfection actually perfect, right? We still have beauty and history in the imperfection of before, right? The ancient buildings, they hold history, they hold memories. just now I was thinking about a playground that I used to go when I was a child, and I had the opportunity of revisiting there, and it doesn't exist anymore. So it's just a memory. It's just a memory. The cost of all these gleaming skyscrapers and hanging bridges, the poem implies the cost of this is the country's soul. Quite strong. So another theme would be human progress versus nature. Again, you can draw a parallel with the city planners. Atwood focuses much more on the melting of the ice caps, whereas over here, Bowie portrays that the planners, in their endless and unchecked quest for perfection, they're destroying the natural world. Human beings, they are at odds with the environment. They're trying to control and perfect rather than just letting it be. Instead of allowing the natural places to simply exist, the humans grid them and fill them with permutations of possibilities. The poem also makes reference, like I said, that the modernization is erasing the humanity's past. And the poem thus is linking human progress with destruction on a personal and a global scale. A very strong symbol is gold in this poem. He uses a metaphor to compare the country to a row of teeth, saying that all gaps are plugged with gleaming gold. The country's old buildings are being torn out and rebuilt like rotten teeth, replaced with gold fillings. They are being replaced with something more beautiful, something which makes the country appear more glamorous. At the same time, the idea that the country is being plugged with gold suggests that gold is maybe being used to quieten the residents. Right, so perhaps I want to buy your house to build a new building, but you don't want to. So, gold to shut you up. And this shows that people in power, they're able to do what they want without having ordinary people on board. With enough money, the image of gold suggests that powerful people can change the face of the country. The literary devices. Now, let's focus on the literary devices on the poem. Take your poem again, pause the video as I go along, and write with me. So first of all, he uses anaphora, right? They plan, they build, they raise, they have. The speaker uses the repetition of this word they, emphasizing the power that these planners have. Alliteration. Filled with permutations of possibilities. The alliteration here not only draws attention to this phrase, showing the various directions that the planners can take. Planners, another alliterative word that you can connect over there. So it draws attention to this sentence. Personification. By personifying the natural world, the speaker also implies that the planet is not a mindless resource made for human consumption. Instead, it's independent and vividly alive. The ocean draws back because human civilization is encroaching on its boundaries, and the skies surrender because they are being attacked, right? The skyscrapers. So it's like human beings are waging outright war on the natural world. There's a metaphor comparing the urban development of their homeland to a dental procedure. So they get rid of the flaws and the blemishes of the past, and they do it with dexterity, with skillfully, right? With skills. They do it skillfully with speed and efficiency. And this might sound like a good thing. The speaker home is like almost a perfect smile, right? Yet people don't typically look forward to going to the dentist. It's like, yeah, I'm going to the dentist. No. So this metaphor imbues all this supposed progress with a sense of sinister discomfort. And are teeth only for smiling? There's a syndeton as well. All spaces are gridded and filled with permutations of possibilities. This lends a quick, smooth momentum that evokes the speed and ease with which the planners work. Having everything mapped out, they can build and they can expand at alarming speeds. It's quite fast if you stop to pay attention when a building is being built. There's enjambment. The poem is enjambed. Like a syndeton, this lends the poem a sense of fluid momentum, of non-stop, of just, going to the next verse and so on and so forth. And this is evoking the speed and the ease with which the planners change the speaker's homeland. So over here, the buildings are in alignment with the roads which meet at desired points, linked by bridges, all hang in the grace of mathematics. This is one verse going to the next one, and it's all one huge sentence, evoking thus this idea of non-stop and fluid building. But you also have caesura. They plan, they build, all spaces are gridded. These pauses, they slow the line down, making it feel structured, with a method, right? Methodical, in a way that might evoke the planner's orderly mathematical approach to changing the speaker's homeland. The line also feels rather flat, rather than exciting, loose, and fluid. Right off the bat, the speaker doesn't seem particularly fond of all this planning, of all this building. So this is in the very beginning. It's already a punch, right? They plan, they build. So it does bring this short punches, sorry the repetition, but that's the best word to describe it, and eliminating this fluidity, and somehow still at the same time making a stylistic choice to make the reader stop a little bit and focus on that sentence that was written. Let's talk about the form, the meter, and the rhyme scheme now. So the form is a free verse poem. It includes 3 stanzas of varying lengths. It has 27 lines that are short and clipped, and they're evoking this rigid new landscape that the speaker is describing. The frequent enjambments, like I said, they can be reflecting the author's message of the non-stopping development, and this caesura that I mentioned can be this people being cut off from emotion and from humanity. The meter, since it's a free poem, there's no regular meter, even though this is the norm for much of the contemporary poetry. It is surprising that a poem that is describing a place that has been perfected by the grace of mathematics doesn't use some sort of strict rhythm. So this is interesting to pay attention to. Perhaps the lack of meter here expresses that the speaker might be resisting to the planner's perfectionism. So he's criticizing this, so I'm not going to use it. Right? I'm resisting to this perfectionism that I'm criticizing. Finally, if we go to the rhyme scheme, there is no rhyme scheme, which might reflect the poem's rejection to this rigidly gridded layout of the newly redeveloped country. And this highlights the speaker's resistance to artificial planning, to order, since the rhymes can be quite poetic and they can maybe romanticize this idea that the speaker is so very against. And then we get to the speaker. The speaker is an enemy of the unnamed planners who are changing the speaker's country into something unrecognizable. He's clearly much interested in the flaws and the blemishes, the flaws, right? The blemishes of the past, rather than the new gleaming skyscrapers. The speaker thinks that the country's history matters, and that erasing this history is bad for both the people and the country. Shall I say maybe the planet? We don't know who the speaker is, but knowing a little bit more about Boey's history, we may infer that the speaker could very well be Boey himself. What's the setting? The Planners is set in a country undergoing rapid urbanization, most likely based on Boey's native Singapore. Have you seen Singapore's airport? Out of this world. And the speaker notes that all spaces are gridded, the roads and the bridges all hang in perfect grace. This grace, however, is not elegant or inspiring, but it's quite mathematical. Technically, right? With the mathematical, what do I mean? That it's technically flawless, but it's soulless too. The poem's lack of specificity about where it is set suggests that all this building, piling, and drilling is resulting in a dangerously bland place. It doesn't have, it's just meh, right? Modernity is robbing this country's unique character, making it just like any other shiny or modern city. Like I said, it was soulless, right? It's removing the country's soul, the history. Let's talk a little bit about the context. Since 1950s, Singapore's population has grown, expanding from 1 million people in 1950 to nearly 6 million in 2021. During this period, Singapore has invested heavily in its infrastructure. Things like buildings, roads, and bridges that the speaker mentions in the poem, but also public transportation, water and electricity, public housing, schools, and hospitals. While the speaker of the poem is questioning this rapid planning, many people do see Singapore's development into an urbanized country as a success story. Thus, what the speaker is really grieving is the way that all these improvements might disconnect Singaporeans from their history or their understanding of who they are as people. Got it? Now, a question to sum all of this up. This could be a very good IGCSE essay question that you can try to respond, and you can try to give some ideas here in the comments, which is, how does Boey Kim Cheng powerfully convey his attitude to the planners in his poem? So how does he convey his attitude to the planners in his poem? So you can go back to the video. There are many ideas. You can use, like I said, you can use the form, the meter, the rhyme scheme. You can use the figurative language. You can use the summary of the poem. You can use his own history to answer this question with evidence and respecting the essay structure. So that's it. So today, this was the Planners by Boey Kim Cheng. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please like this video, share the content, and follow us for more videos like this. Bye guys, see you on the next video.